everybody, my name is Hope and welcome back to my channel. I like musicals, they're a big part of my life. Today we're gonna be guessing musicals based off AI generated posters. Now I know that sounds really confusing, but I saw on TikTok like ages ago, so I'm kind of really late to this, I'm sorry. This AI that when you type in words would give you images in specific art styles based off what you typed in. So for example, this is The Descent, the horror movie, because I like horror movies, and like these are the Weeping Angels from Doctor Who, because I always like Doctor Who. And I was like, wow, these images are really cool. This would be a really fun challenge. Woohoo. And you know, I was thinking AI is already getting advanced enough to understand like miraculous concepts, so why not use it for content? Would that really be so bad? So that's what we're going to be doing today. But before we get into this video, remember that you can follow me on all my social medias. You can find me at XHopeWilsonX on Instagram, Hope Wilson with 2 N's and an underscore on Twitter, and Hope Wilson 45 on TikTok. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like a lot of these are quite obvious, but we're gonna do it anyway, and if you like it, then we can do ones with harder ones. So this is the first one. Now, I'll give you a couple seconds to think about what it could be, but if you wanted some hints, this musical is almost 20 years old, which I think is crazy and honestly kind of scary. Also, I would pay attention to the lady in the front because she is basically the main character, and I also think the colour scheme is quite evident from behind her. So if you haven't guessed already what this one is, it is Wicked. Now I think this image is really interesting. I think obviously you can tell that's Elphaba with like the green and black behind her, which are essentially like the Wicked colours. But I also think like the red and the black along the bottom is to do with like anger and anguish, which is definitely experienced throughout the show, but it's also kind of another colour scheme in the show. Like I feel like there's a point where like all the monkeys are on like bars and it's all red. That part really creeped me out when we watched the first time, because when I went to go and watch this for the very first time, this made me so uncomfortable. I was so creeped out by these people dressed in monkey costumes. No idea why, but it creeped the hell out. And I feel like they were on like a red background and I was like, these could come and jump at me at any moment. But this is Wicked. Hopefully you guessed that one correctly. Okay, so our second one is this. Again, I think pay attention to the colour scheme, because I think that's pretty much the biggest giveaway here. But I think if you look really closely, you can actually see half of the title of this musical in it. It's kind of like obscured, but I think you can probably spot it. Also, I'm not really sure what that is down there. I think it kind of looks like a foot, and it just kind of reminds me of like people going like that. Like, if anyone knows what Nosferatu is, I'll put an image of it here. It's like a French horror movie. I think it's like a mix between Dracula and the Hunchback of Notre Dame. I'm not really sure if I'm completely honest, but it kind of reminded me of that. And no, this isn't Nosferatu musical, because I really hope that doesn't exist. This is what it is, and if you haven't guessed it already, this is Beetlejuice. Obviously, Beetlejuice wears the black and white striped suit, and obviously green. I mean, there's not actually that much green in the picture, to be fair, but green is also like a big colour in the show. I'm not really sure why there's like pink in there. I guess it's to contrast with the green, and it kind of makes it more mystical. I mean, this is totally irrelevant, and you don't have to listen to me saying this, but please cast me in this show. I'd be a good Lydia, and I'm English, so if the English production of Beetlejuice ever comes around, I'm here. Sorry for that little self-promo, but I felt like it was needed to say. So, I don't really have a lot to say on this one, I gotta be honest. Great songs I recommend. I recommend Home, and I also recommend What I Know Now, which trended on TikTok like 2 years ago, which is crazy because this musical feels like 1 year old. So, let's just go on to the next one. Hey you! Yes, you! I'm talking to you from the future. Why not? Fun fact about this channel, 93% of people aren't subscribed. 93! Like, you see these fancy YouTubers and they're like, 30% of you aren't subscribed. Like, bruh, 93%? That's not fair. 93% of the people that watch my videos aren't subscribed. Do you just not like me that much? Do you just not want to commit to this, like, screen relationship? Am I really that annoying? Probably. But that's why I'm talking to you now, to guilt trip you. I'm not really guilt tripping you though, so you can not subscribe if you like, but I would really appreciate it. So if you want to, please do that. It might not be 93% by the time that you've watched this, and if not, I'll look like an idiot, but I gotta be honest, I've looked like an idiot a lot today anyway, so it's not really that big of a deal. So subscribe, bruh. Do it. Anyway, Anyway, back to the video. Now, I feel like this next one is probably quite obvious, but at the same time, maybe not. So I feel like the colour schemes are always the biggest giveaway with these images, and this is definitely kind of the case. It kind of reminds me of something from the show. The other thing that I think may put you off is the hat. I think it looks like an anything goes hat, like a sailor's hat or a pilot's hat or something. It has nothing to do with sailors or pilots, because if it did, this would be a really weird production of this show. But I think if you pay attention to the little thing down here, that might give you a little clue. I also think that the pink writing in the middle is probably quite a big giveaway as to what this musical is. But if you haven't guessed already, this musical is Waitress. Now, I'm just going to show you something just because I think it's quite funny and stuff. But hold on for a second. I have the program to this musical, but I have not seen this musical. My grandma went to go see this musical and she gave me this program even though I haven't actually seen this show. I was meant to. Big long thing. You can probably guess why I didn't go see it in the end. But yes, I have a program to a musical that I've not seen. I have a couple actually, but that's besides the point. I think obviously this musical kind of got robbed because it was either the same year as Hamilton or Dear Evan Hansen that this came out, and it just kind of lost to all its awards, which kind of makes me feel sad. But I feel like this musical is like both overrated and underrated at the same time. I really like it. I think that even though some of the songs are a bit weird, this is probably a good one if you're looking for just a standard piece of musical theatre with a nice story and stuff. It's also based off a movie. I can't remember what the actress is called who's in the film, but I don't really care if I'm honest because I'm probably never gonna watch it. So yeah, Waitress. Okay, this is my next one, and I'm not gonna lie, I low-key love this one. I think that it's really cool, and it also kind of reminds me of the poster, or like pro shots, like pictures from like the musical, if that makes sense. I have an itchy eye, so I have to blink a lot. I feel like the colour scheme doesn't really give it away on this one. I feel like that's probably the least amount of thing, but I think if you can make out, like, in the middle, there's kind of like a person there, they are probably your biggest giveaway. And I also think this is taken a lot from the opening number of the production. I haven't guessed what this musical is. It is Hamilton. This is, I think, taken from Alexander Hamilton when everyone stood up on the different fences looking down at Alex. But I just love the way Alex kind of looks in this AI generated. Like, you can see like the fluffy cuffs from her sleeves, but it's also like kind of really majestic. I don't really have a lot to say about Hamilton. I feel like most things that I said about Hamilton have already kind of been said. Not that it's bad. I very much enjoy it, but you know what I mean. Anyway, on to the next one. Now, I decided to put this one in mainly because it reminds me of a painting. I can't remember what the painting is called. I think it's a French painting. It's essentially like a war painting, which probably gives you quite a big inclination as to what this musical is. Again, colour scheme kind of gives it away, but I'll see if I can find the picture. I don't know if I'll be able to, but I'll put the one that it reminds me of here if I can find it. You could probably guess what this is. I'll give you 3 seconds. 2, 1. It's Les Mis! Yes! What other French war musical are there? Now I've said that, it probably exists, so never mind. But yeah, you can kind of see it there. I know it looks black on camera, but it's blue and red and white. Hence the picture, blue and red and white. And it kind of looks like a war zone, but that's only because it reminded me of that picture. Also, it kind of looks like, I know it kind of looks like a person, but it also kind of looks like a flag, which they do that with in the end of Act 1, and you know what I'm talking about. These are popular musicals, like, you know which bit I'm talking about. And even if you don't, you just have to accept and pretend like you do, because otherwise people will think you're fake fans, which isn't the case. But I'm going on to a rant, so anyway, next one. Okay, this is kind of another one I love. I think it's really pretty, just like in general, and I feel like it's not super obvious, but when you say it, you're like, oh yeah, I believe that. I guess you can kind of make out part of the words that it's trying to spell out for itself, like at like the top middle kind of yellowy part. But I honestly think that the biggest giveaway is the flowers, and you can't tell me those don't look like flowers and I'm spoiling it for you because they're flowers. It's pretty obvious. I don't really know what it was trying to do at the bottom here. I think they're meant to look like people, but they don't really look like people, so they just kind of looks like 2 legs of different people, I gotta be honest. But if you haven't guessed this one, this is Hadestown. Obviously the cover for Hadestown, like the cast recording, album recording cover, is like dark black with like a singular rose. I think these are meant to look like roses, but they honestly just kind of look like red red flowers. Thinking about it now though, it's not actually a rose, it just looks like the things on the picture. But anyway, obviously I think this is meant to be Orpheus and Eurydice, who are the Greek mythological type characters who are like the main characters. I also think they kind of look like stairs where the writing is placed like sideways, and the kind of like bottom bit around where the things are. Obviously it's like a city on the ground, so it's kind of like that, and obviously the stairs are like a big part of the show. If you know the show, or you know the end of the show, that's like a huge like symbolic thing. So yeah, this is Hadestown. I feel like I should listen to Hadestown more. I only know like a handful of songs, if I'm honest. I have the cast recording and I only know a couple songs and I really like them all. Why Do We Build the Wall is an underrated song. Please don't tell me it isn't, because I love that song and it's really kind of boring, but that's why it's amazing. Anyway, moving on. I feel like these are definitely some harder ones now, or at least I tried to make them that way. Again, I feel like this is probably pretty guessable though. I mean, colour scheme definitely there. I think that the big face with the hat on probably gives you a pretty good idea too, and obviously the woman in the middle with, I'm not really sure what it is. It kind of looks like it's meant to be a child, but it might not be. But if I haven't given you enough clues from that, I think also the kind of tower in the background and the style that it is also probably gives it away, because this is Miss Saigon. I'm assuming that the woman is meant to be Kim and the child that is bared within the show. And that's not really a spoiler because it happens pretty quickly, if I'm completely honest. And also the big face. I don't think this is meant to be Chris, and I should know all the characters' names in this show because I adore this show, but essentially the general that no one really likes and then comes back as a ghost for a little bit, that kind of reminds me of his face, and also he has that outfit on, so that kind of reminded me of that. And also what I'm assuming is meant to be like a pagoda, even though I'm pretty sure pagodas are either Chinese or Japanese, and this is set in Vietnam. That kind of Asian culture is kind of reflected. I don't really know what I'm talking about, I've got to be honest, so I think we'll move on to the last one. Okay, and this is the last one. Again, I think pretty guessable, but I just thought this one was kind of unique, hence why it's probably the hardest one to identify. If I'm honest, it kind of gives me Wizard of Oz vibes, even though it's not Wizard of Oz and has like nothing to do with it. If I'm honest, I just think that's kind of how like the branches or like the trees kind of mesh in the middle, and it kind of reminds me of that scene when the Wicked Witch is just kind of on a shed and throws random fireballs at Scarecrow. Thinking about that now, that is a really bizarre scene. However, it kind of reminds me of that. But honestly, I just think this is a really pretty picture, like I do most of these. And honestly, I think it's kind of an interesting image just to look at. Like I kind of like these prints in my house. I don't own a house, but you understand what I'm trying to say. I'd like these to just like having pictures. I think they're really pretty. So if you haven't guessed what it is, this is Into the Woods, which does make a lot of sense because there are a lot of trees. I think that if there were more musicals that were based in the woodland, this would probably be hard to guess, because I don't think it's too overtly like, this is Into the Woods, look there's a giant, look there's a princess, look there's a cheating wife, look there's a cow, look there's a man who bakes bread, and other people too, and a girl in a red coat. Even though we do kind of have a red coat, I don't really know who the person in the black and the purple is meant to be, but could be Cinderella, could be not. I'm not really sure, but it's a good musical, it has good songs, and I just think this poster is kind of pretty, so that's kind of why I put it in. Did you guess it? Did you guess them all? Hope you did. I don't really have anything else to say, so let's just move on to the outro and other things, I guess. Whee! So they were all the AI images. Hopefully you like them. Hopefully you were like, oh, this was a fun little game for us to play. Hopefully they also weren't too obvious. I feel like looking at them now, they're probably really obvious, but at the same time, we could make it harder because there were some images that were generated that did not look at all like they were meant to. And I was honestly just sad then being like, what do you think this musical is about? Because I'm really not sure. But how many did you get? Please leave a comment down below because I'm really curious. Did everyone just get them all and make me look rubbish? Did people like this? Would people want me to do this again, but perhaps make it harder next time? So I don't really have that much to say, but remember you can find me at all my social medias, which will be listed here. Remember you can like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you feel like it. It really helps me out. I don't think people understand how much. Keep enjoying musicals as much as me. Please leave comments down below and I will see you in the next one.